Hey, welcome to the We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson.
And I'm Daniel Orduña. We come from different backgrounds, but we're working together. So our goal is to help you navigate being better together in the various sectors of your life by bringing you a once-a-month interview and some stimulating thoughts on the weeks in between.
We hope this podcast keeps you tracking on building something better together, whether it's your marriage, your family, your workplace. We want to serve you. So here's today's episode. Hey everybody, we're so excited that you've joined us on our first ever We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson. That's Daniel. That is Daniel. How do you do that? That's Daniel Orduña. And we are super excited to get this thing going. And we're glad you joined us today to just get to know us a little bit better. What we want to do today is just sort of share with you why we're doing We're Better Together. And in the process of that, you'll get to know our hearts a little bit. You'll get to kind of understand where we're heading with this whole thing. And we hope that inspires you to continue to be part of our community and see how you can be better together with wherever you're working on that, whether it's your marriage or a relationship that you're in, your family, your work, a team you're on, your church, your community. If there's any place that you're trying to facilitate people being better together, we believe the content that we're going to give you, the interviews we're going to do, the information we're going to bring your way will help you be more effective and get better at doing that. So we're excited you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. So we're going to just sort of interview each other today, and we hope that helps.
And we're going to start right off by hearing a little bit from Ian's heart here, because this really stemmed up, Ian, from you, from the Lord speaking to you. So, Ian, could you give us and our listeners some insight into what really brought this about? Where did the idea for We Are Better Together podcast begin and get to here?
Wow, I'm going to try to make that a short answer, but I grew up playing sports. I was a Division I athlete, and so team stuff was a big deal to me. I loved being part of a team, and I loved that synergy that happens when we work better together. Although being an athlete and being on a team, you realize how hard it is. Like, there's only one championship team. Everyone doesn't win, and it's hard to keep that level of teamwork going for a long time. And then, I started working at a church, and I started working in like outreach stuff around the world and even in our community. And I started to see how disconnected, like, you go to a country and there's 100 NGOs doing the same thing, but they're not coordinating their efforts. They're not working together. In a city, it could be all these churches, and they're not working together. Everyone's kind of doing their own dinky little thing, and there's no synergy where that can be higher. So I got involved in just trying to help stimulate that in different ways. And in our city of Costa Mesa, California here, we have an organization now called Trellis, where we really have been working to try to facilitate collaboration around our city's greater challenges. And as that's happened over the past 5 to 7 years, it's been amazing the results that we've seen. Homeless people that have gotten into housing, the way it's impacted our schools through helping engage other churches and parts of our community into what's happening at our schools. In our neighborhoods, starting to see neighbors work together and doing citywide service days. I mean, it's been amazing to see the traction that unity has created and the difference it's made in our city. So this idea, and people have actually said, you should do a podcast on how to help people work better together. So I started thinking about it, and more, it just resonated. And as I've met people like you and others who, have a heart for that, it just became evident that, we need to do a podcast. We need to start something that just helps encourage people in whatever setting they're in to figure out the principles, to hear from people who've had success at how to do it, on how they really can be better together.
That's good. That's good. And along with that, as that vision came forth and you're thinking about this idea of being better together, what really drew you to the idea, hey, I want to find a co-host within this and not just doing it on your own, which would not have been bad by any means, but what really drew you to saying, I need to find someone to co-host this with me?
Well, first of all, I thought it'd be crazy to do a We're Better Together podcast by yourself. So that it just didn't make sense. And then secondly, as I was learning about podcasting, one of the things I heard was that it's really good to have a co-host because it helps. So I was like, okay, who would be a good fit for that? Like what should I, and so I started thinking about who could be my co-host. And Daniel, I've told you this already, but I'm going to just tell our audience, like, you very clearly came to my mind because we've known each other, not like super well, but we've known each other for a number of years. And I love your energy and your enthusiasm. I know you have a heart for unity in our city. I've watched you wrangle through that in some of your leadership and trying to bring unity together in a community and with people. And then you're different than me, like, right? You're younger. You're probably smarter. You're better looking. You have a different background than me. And so, like, to really illustrate that we're better together, I wanted someone different, right? I wanted someone from a different ethnic background and everything. So you came to my mind. You were the first one. And I'm so excited to have you on this with me. And I'm going to flip the coin a little bit here and now ask you some questions. So Daniel, tell me why did you say yes? What's your heart for being part of this? Let our audience get to know you a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good humor in the midst of this story because really, as you just shared about reaching out to me, I mean, Ian calls me and begins to share about this idea of a podcast that he has. And in my brain, I'm thinking the whole time, hey, great. He's just going to ask me. He's sharing about unity. He wants to start this podcast. He's going to ask if he can interview me at some point and just be a part of it in that way. And I was able in the moment to wrap my brain around that idea. But then sure enough, my guy Ian here ends that by saying, and I want to know if you will come and co-host it with me. And I was not expecting that at all. My brain was trying the best it could in that moment to switch from, this is not an invitation to be interviewed, which would have been an honor enough and something that I could have wrapped my brain around in that moment, to co-hosting a podcast. I've never done a podcast. I don't know about this world. Okay, now I got to process this in a different way. And I think just using that word again that I felt, at first I felt very honored to be invited in. As you shared, Ian, we've known each other over the years, not in this extreme deep way, but we have had understanding of each other. We've been able to see each other in certain ways and see each other's hearts in certain ways. And so I knew, even without us having the deepest relationship, I knew your heart for unity, and that was evident and clear. And so I said, Ian, let me pray about this. Let me process this. This seems like something that is worth considering, but something that I should take before my wife and share with her, and something for me to take before the Lord in this as well, and to say, God, what do you want me to do? And really that led to me saying yes. And I think part of that stems from, you're right, Ian. I feel like I've always had a heart for unity. Some of that coming from my very own story of being a mixed kid. I've got a black dad and a white mom. And the very nature of that means that unity had to come together to create something that was mixed. And whether I fully understood that as a young kid, I think I've always had some kind of knowing that this is different. There's unity. There's something about these two different people coming together that created something beautiful. And so I think there's a natural sense that has come up with me within that, of then wanting to, hey, I'm a product of that. So then how can I be someone that helps to create spaces for that, helps to create culture for that? I'm also a middle child in my family. And I know that I'll speak in a generalization, but there are times where the middle child as well can end up being the bridge child, the one that's trying to build the bridges, the mediator amongst the siblings. And I think for me, I did find myself in some of that role of my personality seems to come across in that kind of way of bridge building. I want a peacemaker. I want to see unity. I don't want to see my siblings fighting and that kind of stuff. And so some of that stuff was really ingrained at a young age. And then as I grew up and being a part of sports as well, being a part of the friend groups that I had, I always felt like in the friend groups that I was a part of, that I ended up being in the position of being the one that would be the communicator within the group, the one that would be the one that's contacting everyone to get together, to stay connected. And so again, maybe at that time I didn't fully understand what that was, but I can now look back and say I wanted unity, I wanted relationship. And so I see that happening in sports, I see that happening in friendships, I see that happening in the classroom, I see that happening at work. And so I think that there has always been this bend towards wanting to see that. And as well, for me, growing up in Irvine, in Orange County, not surrounded by a large Black community, surrounded by a large white community. And I found myself in that place. And again, I felt real quickly, God said, look, bridge building. I'm going to bridge a gap in relationships. I'm going to help be a person of unity in these places. And I think that's just a little of the heart that I come from, and part of in saying yes. It's all right, let's jump into this, as scary as it is. And it's scary. Here we go, Ian. This is totally scary.
We're going to learn together, man.
My heart says, let's go figure this out. And for all those things that I just said, let's step into another avenue of something that is about unity.
Cool. I think even as we're recording this, it's important that we mention that we're right in the middle of one of the most divisive times in our country that I can remember since I've been alive. We're in the midst of 2020. So the coronavirus has divided people more than ever. We had so much racial issues with George Floyd getting murdered and all that's the fallout from that and the discussions. And man, if there's ever a time where we need a podcast about how we're better together that helps people figure out how to do it, I think it's now. So, man, it's going to be so great to do this together, Daniel. Thank you for saying yes, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Ian, within that, with this being our first podcast as well, what do you really see as coming next? You explained the heart behind our podcast, but when we come with interviews now, what is the plan there? What are we going to be looking at? Who are we going to be looking towards with some of these things? And what are you excited about within that?
Yeah, well, I'm super excited about some of the interviews that I hope we're going to be able to get. You and I have made a list of people that we're wanting to invite to interview, people from the sports world, people from the business world, people who are really great in marriage and marriage work, working in marriages, working with churches, working in community development stuff. Like, we're going to bring in people to interview who've had a degree of success and understand principles and things that can really help us work better together in whatever context we are. And, you and I have talked about kind of 3 principles that are going to guide our stuff here. And we feel like there's 3 things that really make it happen. And you've got to be focused on the same thing together. You have to adjust along the way, and then you have to persevere. If you're going to ever experience unity, like focus, adjust, persevere. It's, you need that kind of thing to be successful in anything, but we're going to hone in on those 3 words throughout our interviews and through the principles that we learn. So I'm excited to see people glean wisdom from those interviews that will help them in their pursuit, in their context. That's what I'm most excited about.
It's great.
What about you? Like, as you think about us doing this, like, what excites you about what we're embarking on here?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind to even come out of what we were just expressing about how we even got here is I am excited about the fact that working and co-hosting with someone that's different than me.
Hmm.
I'm excited about learning the perspectives that you have, Ian, the things that you will bring into this, maybe even the sectors or places of relationship that you have, that maybe I don't have some relationships in, and then having those people come in to hear. So I'm first excited about just that sense alone. And then watching the unity come within that of working with someone that comes from a different background than I do. I'm really excited for that. Along with that is that as much as I have a heart for unity, and as much as I've been a part of things within that, I am really excited to bring other people into the conversation to not only share with those that would listen to this, but even for myself, to hear from people in these different sectors, to grow myself in terms and be challenged in terms of this idea of being better together. Where are the places that I need to learn and grow within this? And so having other people come from other marriages, from the world of sports, from the world of business or education, from any of these kind of different areas that we're looking at. I'm really excited about that. And then I'm excited about the hope that if we can build a community within this in some form, however large or small that is, I'm excited to see if we get to experience any of the fruit or get to hear any stories in the midst of that, of how what we are discussing on this podcast, what and how that impacts people's lives at all. So I hope that we get to taste that in some sense, and I look forward to the hope of that. But I think those are some of the things that really come to mind that I'm excited about as we begin this journey here.
Man, so good, Daniel. Just, we did not pre-rehearse this interview, just so you all know. So like, just hearing Daniel say that, it pumps me up even more that we get to do this together, because our hearts really are connected around what we're trying to do here. So, man, we hope this brings value, and we hope that you, as he just shared, really can glean some things that make a difference. And we'd love to hear those stories. So as we keep doing this, we're going to be developing an online community, probably through Facebook. We'll be trying to create ways that you can share your stories with us, so that we can, just celebrate with you the growth that's taking place, and we can encourage you, hopefully along the way, or connect you to some resources that might be able to help you in your pursuit of working better together. So we're going to drop content every single Monday. So we just want to encourage you every week, listen, we're going to have an interview at least once a month. And then the weeks in between, we're going to drop just short 10 to 15 minute segments that will share principles and insights on how to work better together. So wherever you're working on it, your marriage, your family, whatever it is, you can tune into this podcast every week and get something that's going to help keep you focused, help you know how to adjust, and hopefully encourage you to persevere in the pursuit of unity, because unity and working together is not an easy thing. So as we go on this journey, we trust that this podcast will serve you in your efforts along the way.
And with that, we want to remind all of you, this is just the beginning. This is the very beginnings of this podcast here. We are excited for people that will join in with us, to watch us in this process, to watch Ian and I grow in this, to watch us fail forward in ways, and for you to be able to see that process and be a part of that process. And so as you have even listened in here today in this aspect, we just want to say thank you very much to those of you that have tuned in for this part, and look forward to what it is that we will be bringing forward. For we really believe, at the end of the day, we truly believe in our hearts that we are better together. So may we be better together. We love y'all, and we will see you soon.
Hey, thanks so much for tuning in today. If there's anything you heard today that was helpful to you, that you think might be helpful to somebody else,
please like, subscribe, and share this podcast so we can help others be better together as well.